Call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Review and approve the minutes for June 26, 2023, regular select board meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed. July 5th, 2023, special meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, no one opposed. Any open public comment?
Yes. Mike, you don't have to get involved in this. I'd like to really know, when are these holes going to be fixed? The potholes.
Well, they did patch West Street.
Well, big deal, we patched West Street. We're gonna strip that anyways and repave it.
Well, I know, but they were really bad, so, and they had a lot of
Well,
complaints.
we got bad holes around the whole town.
West Street was the worst as far as I was concerned, and it's a joy to ride now, and Michael, thank the crew for doing that.
When?
I'm sure they'll get to them. They have a heavy schedule of doing things, so everything.
They're not gonna get any smaller, believe me. Unless I'm missing something in this world.
I know, some are.
Every street's got a pothole on it, every one of them. And also, I'm gonna ask you another question. Can we get the town to clean up the front of the town office here? We got a billboard down there, right here, which you all can see it, which you guys see it every day. It's ready to tip over. I would like to know what the town crew really do in a day.
Well, we get a report from them every week, and they do plenty, so.
You can report every week?
Well, when we get our meetings, when we have our meetings. So
And how come I
it's
have-
every 2 weeks of work.
Okay, one more question. I notice we have awful short meetings. Are we having meetings outside the board and making decisions before you guys get here? Because I notice the meetings are like 40 minutes.
No, that's because the agendas are either light or people aren't commenting or arguing like they used to.
There's a lot more that needs to be done in this town in 40 minutes, I hate to tell you.
Well, we address everything that comes to us. We address all the issues that are, stated
Well,
out there.
I just gave you an issue and you haven't adjusted, and that's almost 2 years.
The potholes?
Yes?
I know, you raise it every single time we're here, and we hear you.
Are the streets all ever going to be totally pothole free over the whole town? I don't know.
That's crazy.
Like,
Probably not
many
in
towns are.
That's not attainable. It's like,
Okay, anybody else have comments? Do you have any comments? Okay. Review the bills, everybody sign the bills?
Yes.
Public nuisance ordinance amendment, legal review.
Just a quick update from the board and the community. I was hoping for a quick review from the attorneys. I highlighted all the changes that the committee made, but we haven't received comments back from them. I left it on the agenda just so there wasn't any kind of lapse between the last time it was on the agenda and approval. So the hope is that at the next meeting, we'll have the feedback from our legal team for what decision the board needs to make on the public nuisance ordinance concerning keeping of certain animals.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay, Riverside Cemetery Management and Planning.
Well, Select Board Member Curtis is still leading charge, I think, on most of this. I did have one person reach out to me who lives on Olympus, interested on being on the committee, and the town did advertise it online, and it got have posted on various Facebook pages. So I'm hoping here in the next week, there might be enough people interested in it to actually set up a meeting time. Do we have any burial schedule?
No, we don't. So it actually has slowed down quite a bit, so.
Can I ask a question regarding that? The death industry is very lucrative. It seems like there should be some ample opportunity for some type of paid committee to operate the cemetery in a good way to take the load off you guys' back. It seems like an awful lot of work for people to do, and there seems to be a lot of money in burying people. That's all I've got to say. It seems like there should be some type of way. The money that comes in from, digging the graves, if that's what Michael's going to be doing. So he's talking about having a crew dig, and so, I mean, it seems like there would be a way to have something so that you guys, just to make it easier for you guys to have people that would actually, have certain things that they're attending to and know that it's getting done.
The only problem I see with that is most committees they're volunteer and they're not paid.
Well, and on top of that, though, the money in the cemetery needs to pay for the cemetery to be taken care of in perpetuity.
Right.
So spending money on it is not something, if we can avoid, that we want to do.
Right.
So.
Right. It just doesn't seem okay. It just seems like there's. I'm not saying there should be like a full-time person or the pay should be high, but it just seems like it seems like a lot of work for accurate record keeping and everything that have to be done by a committee to actually run the cemetery and have it stay organized. It seems like a lot to keep track of for somebody who's just volunteering. That's all I'm saying.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's a good idea.
Maybe they could get a ham for Christmas or something.
Do you want it?
Maybe they could get a ham for Christmas or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's enough to entice them.
Ham's good.
Work for Christmas.
Absolutely.
All right, grounds maintenance violations report.
Yeah, so, there's been some concern from the board and the community on junk vehicles and tall grass. The tall grass is pretty intermittent, as soon as I go to file a notice or send a notice of violation, a lot of times they're already taken care of, because I try to call the owner and work it out before we have to send out notices. Junk vehicles are more in place, and so I just kind of did a quick ride around town, found a few lots, and I don't want to make it look like I'm picking on a certain area of town, but there seemed to be a concentration of junk vehicles on West Street, kind of between Larry Lane and coming into the West Street Market. So I've got an example notice of violation for the board to review, and I had four lots that seem to be harboring junk vehicles that are obvious, and I'll send those out this week.
Anybody have questions or comments? Okay. Next on the agenda is the appointment of a new town manager.
Well, I'll start off. Most people have heard the news that I've accepted a position at Killington. I'll be their new town manager. I didn't sign a yearly contract, so hopefully it's forever. So the board has been tasked with finding and appointing a new town manager. The board's met in executive sessions a few times over it, and I think I can probably hand it over from here, whoever would like to speak, but this might fall onto the vice chair, maybe.
Certainly. So first of all, Michael, we appreciate all the work that you've done for the town. I think I speak on behalf of the entire board in the town that you've done an amazing job. And looking at the position that we're in and the situation, I would like to make a motion to appoint Judy Frazier as the town manager.
I'd like to second that.
So the motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I guess left out of the motion, maybe you'd start August 14th. Maybe.
Yes.
Or we could arrange that. Yeah. So I'll still be the town manager until you take over.
I won't take the crown until you leave.
Yeah. We'll have the ceremony and all
That's right.
that.
That's right.
So can I have the vote on that?
Can you what? Have the vote?
Yeah.
I voted yes.
I voted yes.
I didn't vote. For obvious reasons.
Could I ask if are you going to remain on the select board and also serve as town manager?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
No. I wouldn't do that to myself. I don't think I could. Okay. Any other business?
Well, yeah, so today, we've gotten a lot of rain. And so I've been out and about just kind of keeping track of the low-lying areas. And I've been watching the weather forecast to see the various stages of flooding on the Otter Creek. Right now, I believe we're at moderate stage flooding or close to it. And I posted on Front Page Forum just, a quick blurb about kind of where we're at. And I'll continue to post on Front Page Forum as we need to close any roads if we have to. And, worst case scenario, if we've got to open up a shelter somewhere, we'll coordinate with whoever's going to host that and then publish it on Front Porch Forum so people know. I guess the big areas of concern now are along the baseball fields, Willow Street. But what's nice is I've had a couple people reach out to me already, just homeowners in town, saying if someone needs a place to stay, then they'd be willing to offer it. So,
Very nice. Very nice.
Michael, the Willow Street pump station, did you happen to hear how that's doing?
So the guys have said the flows down there have been significantly less since we've made the repairs, and I went down there.
This is an ultimate test here.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and I drove down to the pump station around 4, went all the way down there, and there's no illicit discharge happening.
Great. So that is saving us money. We don't have to hire a truck and
Yeah,
also the project well worth doing.
yeah,
Good. Thanks, Bill.
Excellent.
that's it. That's the only other business I have.
Thank you. All right. Is there a motion to go out of the select board meeting into the Board of Water Commissioners?
So moved.
Second? In favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any business under the Water Commissioners?
I didn't really have any news that was worthwhile enough to put on the agenda. However, the town, that was actually wastewater. So, hold on, let me see here. There was a line repair that was made to Newton Street. Boil water notices were issued. The homeowner was asked to test the water herself once the repairs were made, and it failed. However, we found out today that the water test passed. So, so that's the only news in the world of potable water.
Is there a motion to go out of the Board of Water Commissioners and into the Board of Sewer Commissioners?
So,
Second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anything you want to add with sewer?
Yeah, again, I couldn't really justify putting anything on here. We did have a inspection by the state. They had a representative come down and tour the wastewater treatment plant, and then they had quite a few administrative questions for me following that visit. They haven't given us any feedback from it yet. And yeah, we haven't had any illicit discharges since the rain started, and hopefully it stays that way.
Thank you. Motion to go out of the Board of Sewer Commissioners back to the Select Board meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Town Manager's report.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So I've already told you about our policy. Our ordinance review is kind of behind schedule. Moving down my report here that's included in your packets, I'll skip to Parks and Recreation. The Mortimer Proctor applications were submitted on June 30th after their approval at your meeting prior to that. If the board recalls, the town installed some liners at the pool to see if it helped with keeping the weeds down, and it actually has been working. The true test is after you move it if they work. So we've got 2 set up now, and the idea is that the sun and the UV rays kind of kill the weeds, so you can move them, you know, throughout the year. So one has been moved, and we'll just watch it to see if that area doesn't get infested with weeds, or does. South Street Sidewalk Project, the town is officially done with the right-of-way phase of the project. That's definitely something to celebrate about, because now we enter into the final design phase. And that is all going to kind of be out of our court. It'll just be the engineers and the municipal project manager working with the state to make sure the final, you know, designs meet the state's criteria. Summer paving, I didn't get an official award. However, I did get an email from Brian Sanderson, who's our V-Trans district rep, that the town will be awarded the full $200,000 for West Street. So with that news, I went ahead and began soliciting bids for 1.6 miles of milling and paving along West Street. Those bids are out today, and they are due at 4 o'clock before the meeting on July 24th, I believe is the next meeting. So that's when we're open the paving bids. The Municipal Energy Resiliency Grant, also known as MERP. We should be getting our $4,000 soon for the capacity building grant, which was phase 1, and phase 2 applications are live. Phase 2 is the energy audit for municipal buildings. You can put 5 buildings on one application, and I'll be submitting those applications before I leave, just so that ball's rolling. And gosh, the logging road, you know, I'm hoping to have that at least some kind of plan of action there before I leave. I've spoken with the state. There's a new county, what would you call it? A new county forest manager, I guess might be her title. And the state thinks it'd be a good opportunity for training, for her to join me on the Chittenden property. They also stated that there might be some water quality funds available to make improvements to that logging road if we had to do it. So it'd be good to have them with us while we look. And we went over cemetery commissioners, grants and aid projects. See, these are the stormwater projects that we do throughout the year. There are 2 outfalls, one along Patch Street and then one along East Street. They just don't have any, well, the one on Patch Street doesn't have any outfall protection at all. It just kind of dumps down through a cliff. The one on Patch Street, I've never seen it before. It's just like a tin chute that somebody put and just funnels the water down onto property. So what we're going to do is put riprap along there. The town's been awarded $12,500 to perform that work this year. And I submitted the pre-construction application. So now, and it was approved today. So now all Kyle has to do is get the guys out there and make the improvements. VIII's, I know I'm being exhaustive here, but so VIII's October 1st, 2023 is when we can enroll. I got 2 more things here. The Vermont Community Development Planning Award was given to Zion Growers in partnership with the town. They've been awarded $60,000. They'll be, with this kind of scoping study money, they'll be putting together architectural plans. And it seems like a lot of the focus will be on the roof, the old Hems portion of the property. I spoke to them about, I think the idea was that they would have machinery in there and be processing hemp by this point. They've told me just because of the high cost of machinery now, they're still working on financing it and kind of moving as fast as they can on getting that done. But they're also working with with DEC, the Department of Environment. What are they? DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation, and so they're working with DEC because the Preservation Trust side of it went all the way through the brownfield process. However, the Hems portion did not. So Travis with Zion and Brandon are working with DEC to conduct a phase 2. And once the phase 2 is done, the brownfields were done, and then the whole site will have that environmental, assessment behind them.
You said you were gonna maybe get over there and get a look around. Did you do that? And maybe any thoughts about what you saw?
I spoke to Travis today, and we haven't met in person yet, but the idea is to meet with them before we go.
Okay.
Or before I go. And then lastly, the stormwater master planning, we're actually getting pretty close to presenting the master plan to the public. And over the last few months, I've had a lot of people reach out to me with different kind of stormwater issues in town, and that's been incredibly helpful. I've forwarded on to the watershed consulting firm, and they've included all of these concerns in the plan. So if anybody has any questions about anything I just went over, I'm happy to answer them, but if not.
Board have any questions?
I just wanted to say, it seems like for all that we're doing for the Zion growers, it seems like Michael's giving a lot of attention. It seems like they should be more open and meeting more often than what we're seeing. I feel more comfortable as far as what's going on.
Yeah, I talked to him today a little bit. I know that there's some concern of the town because they're working with the Preservation Trust to figure out some previous year tax payments and utility payments, and they recognize that they're not kind of on track with the goals that they had outlined. But I think that's good feedback, Phil, and I'm sure they'd be happy to come here.
Just putting a little pressure on there.
That's okay.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is Devin working a lot with them too?
Devin, before Ed Bogue left, he had told me that the Rutland Regional Planning Commission would help us manage this grant, and I reached out to Devin last week. Haven't heard anything back from him, but I'm sure we'll be in touch soon.
Okay. Bruce, did you have a question?
Any word on the marble building up here?
Oh gosh, yeah. I spend a lot of time with people that are committed to purchasing the building, and then they, and then I talk to another person that's committed to buying the building. So that seems to be the trend. But I will say, the last few conversations I've had with people centered around housing. Where before it was really all over the place, from rehab centers, the data mining, you name it. But now a lot of the focus has been around housing, and then, but even on top of that, maybe like a mixed use to where the ground level would serve as a store or a community room, what have you, and then the upper levels would be housing. The latest one was kind of strange. It was like an art school.
They wanted housing too, though, didn't they?
Yeah, an art school with student housing, and then maybe housing for the owner. But I haven't heard anything since.
But it says it's under contract.
Oh, so maybe that's it.
There were people there, last weekend?
Yeah, it was last weekend.
There was 4 cars there out in the parking lot early in the morning.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So maybe you have an art school in town. But yeah, every time I ever spoke to them, I just kind of gave them an idea of the history of the building, or the best I knew, and then, of course, the problems they would probably face, like parking, and then all the remodeling they'd have to do.
Question, Mike. On this paving job, the culverts, the curbs, the banks, who's gonna look at that?
Kyle and I spoke about it too, and I didn't want to speak too much about potholes. We are going to ride around and look at potholes in town. I've already documented some of the deeper ones around. But we also spoke about West Street, and the culverts seem to be working fine, functioning properly. there was an incident last, year and a half ago where a culvert got clogged, but they seem to be sized enough to handle the capacity of concentrated runoff on West Street. So as of right now, the way we're looking at the project is it's ready to be bid out, and as soon as we get bids back, it'll be game time.
Any other questions? Oh, Bruce?
Do you have any streets that are on the list for regular paving?
No, well, we don't have enough to do all of that without using, we don't have enough money to do all of that on West Street with just the funds that the state's awarding. So to do that 1.6 miles will, I had a cost estimate, but it's around $350,000, between $350,000 and $400,000. So no, the only paving that's scheduled to take place this year would be on West Street. And that's what the plan is. Of course, if the board gets bids back and wants to change that plan, we can.
And just, one other, is there anything you can fill us in, what's happening up in Montpelier?
Thank goodness nothing. We've been home. We were back up on the 20th in a widely publicized veto session. Currently, I'm looking at next year's transportation budget already, and it appears it will be somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe a little more than this year's $800 million budget, which is a record budget from the previous year, so $200 million more. And fortunately, the town funding was all increased 3 or 4% across the board. And I talked about getting a paving grant, so that you're currently sure to get a paving grant of $200,000. I think that's the max award on that, so we look forward to that. And then I'm looking forward, actually, I came over because I want to say thank you to Michael before he left, and the public. He welcomed me to the town, representing you folks, and wanted to welcome the town manager for this. I'm looking forward to working with Judy, and maybe if we get a chance, the three of us could sit down and do a little transition thing. And Michael was very active, keeping me informed of what your thoughts were during the legislative session. I received correspondence from him on a very, very regular basis, and we had a very long 2-3 hour conversation 3 or 4 weeks ago about grant opportunities and those type of things, and you've taken advantage of a good slug of the grant opportunities. I think that Murph grant will be a big thing for you. I think that's what, 400,000 up to 400,000?
Yeah, 500,000
possibly available to upgrade your buildings. This building is a prime example of what that grant's all about. Bringing an older building up to some sort of energy efficiency. I'm not sure about changing the heating system, but those type of things. So maybe we can talk about that a little bit as time goes on. So we publicized, the budget was vetoed, the deal was overridden. There is some concern among some of us in Montpelier that we are spending one-time money on ongoing programs, so we're a little concerned about the stress on the budget next year and how we're going to be able to afford to keep the spending pattern up. We are looking at property taxes throughout the county. I noticed in Killington an 18% increase in their property taxes, and I noticed that how much a home valued at $400,000 taxes will be on that house in Killington is no concern. Now, note, I think your tax rate is set and you're pretty stable here, as stable as you can be. So there's concern with that. So we'll keep looking and try to figure out what our next step is and moving forward. And then there's always the homeless housing problem that we know we have in Rutland County. And I do know the mayor of Rutland has put together a proposal that we were supposed to meet on today. The county delegation was supposed to meet on today, but it got canceled because the weather and other factors going on in the city right now. We're stress and duress. So we're going to meet next Monday to go over that proposal just a little bit to understand what the mayor is looking for. We try to bring the outlying, I'll try to bring the outlying communities into the discussion because it's a sizable amount of money in a 5-year period that may or may not be available at the end of year 5. So we're going to want to watch for that also. So, and with all of that, I finally we got some business cards that actually say rock. So I'm pretty happy about that. I'll leave a few on the table tonight if they want some. I'll have more downstairs in the town clerk's office. And it was a battle just to get these because of redistricting. Everybody in the place needed new business cards. So that's what we have to get here. So, but thank you for having you over and let us speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa?
So I have a question about the ARPA funds. At the last meeting, it was discussed that the sludge removal will be included in whatever that proposal bond is for the wastewater treatment facility project. And there was some discussion about using ARPA funds to pay down loans was the conversation. I'm wondering, one, if there was any clarification if ARPA funds can be used for that, and two, what's the cost savings to the taxpayer to use this ARPA money to pay down a loan versus using it for something tangible like infrastructure improvement in the community. And it seems like to me, if you look around at the use of ARPA funds, that was kind of the intent also, to use it for more tangible, not to pay down loans. So we're receiving what, a little over $200,000?
About $460,000.
So $460,000. So in light of what our bond is and our payments, I'm just wondering, you use that to pay down a loan, let's say the wastewater or the water bond, which was $6 million. How's that impacting me as a taxpayer? Is that going to lower my water rates next year? Is it going to lower my water rates for the next 3 years?
I think I'll just go first, kind of set the foundation, I guess, for the conversation. The A&E doesn't really have a firm grasp on how much the sludge removal is going to be. And again, kind of referring to the conversation 2 weeks ago, the town had intended to use the ARPA money to fund that sludge removal because it wouldn't be a part of the SRF loan that we're taking out. That information has changed, so the state strongly believes that the town will be able to use the sludge removal inside of the loan. And I'm not sure if that ARPA money can go back to projects that predate the pandemic, but I'm pretty confident that they could go to pay back the loan for the construction that's happening present day. That makes sense.
So I'm a little confused because it was my understanding, like, for example, when we got a meeting, ARPA funds could be basically used for anything within the constraint of what the funds came up. So they could be used for a sidewalk. They could be used for upgrading the gazebo. They could be used for pointing this building. It's for that there's a myriad of things they could be used for. So you received clarification that ARPA funds could be used to pay down loans?
From what I understand, they can't be used to pay back loans.
Okay.
But since we're actually doing this project now, my thought is you could probably, the way the financing could work is pay back the loans of the project as they're happening now. Because I doubt any, because when ARPA first came out, it wasn't as broad as it was. It was only meant for infrastructure upgrades to water, sewer, and internet, right? So this is just me kind of assuming what they were thinking there is that, if a town did have to take a loan out to make that infrastructure upgrade, they could probably use that ARPA money to probably offset some of the costs included in that. Because if you don't apply for the loans, then the project's not subsidized.
Right, so if are we applying for a loan that it'll be a bond, and most bonds that we've received have negative interest. And even when we wanted to pay ahead, we've been told that that's not a good fiscal measure. So it seems counterintuitive to me that if you're taking a loan, it has negative interest, expending those ARPA funds to pay as you go has an advantage to us as a community.
Yeah, it'll just have an impact on future payments of the loan. And your sewer rates, but
there's no guarantee there's any impact on sewer rates by expending $400,000 on that loan. Because one, we don't know the total cost of the bond, and two, it has a negative interest rate with, just like the water project, I'm presuming, right?
it probably.
So they're going to forgive a percentage, and we don't anticipate they'll forgive a percentage of that, just like they did with the water?
So as far as I know, it's a 0% interest rate. So we won't pay any interest on the loan, and it's subsidized 50 or 40%, the actual principal of the loan is. So if you've got a, I'm sorry if I'm kind of misunderstanding here or speaking too much, but say just for example, if it is $1 million loan and you're able to use, and it's subsidized at the end of all of that, the principal is $1 million.
Right.
You use ARPA to pay it down to $600,000, then that's what your loan will be for the next 30 years. So that, I mean, it will impact the repayment of the loan.
And all those bonds have administrative fees that are attached to them too. I mean, they don't have interest, but we pay an administrative fee every year too. So that
Right, well, there's still going to be a fee because you're still going to have a bond. You're still going to have a loan, so.
my thought was it would be a smaller bond though. So
That's what we're hoping.
So do we know what the administrative fees are on the loans? And is it based cumulatively on the loans that the town has, or is it based on each individual loan?
So we haven't finished doing the scoping study for how much it'll cost yet. So once that's done, I think we'll have a better idea. I mean, and even at the end of that scoping study, I think we'll have a better idea of whether ARPA funds can be used to pay back the loan on the project. So we've got a little bit, we've got a little bit more time until we're forced to allocate it. I think the hope is that once the painting is more clear with the scoping study, then the board might have a more informed decision on what to do with the ARPA funds.
Anybody else have any comments, questions?
I saw the sidewalks in Pittsburgh and they look terrible. I said, just please don't ever do that here. If you've seen the sidewalks in Pittsburgh, they paved them with asphalt. And it's just.
Doesn't even look like
So you get, dollar-wise, you get a lot more distance out of your sidewalks, but.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to walk on those.
So the reason, I'll comment on that. So that's a patch job, there's no question about it. That's to get those sidewalks to 2032. When the road project comes through, and there'll be concrete sidewalks and granite curb all the way through the village, wherever there's a sidewalk on both sides of the road. So this is, pardon me?
This is a placeholder until that gets.
That's all this is. It's a maintenance piece just to get to it.
Good enough. Good enough.
Hopefully 2032, originally it's 2028 now.
They haven't paid their tennis court in forever, so
Right.
saw that.
It was a quick fix to use ARPA funds, which I thought was a great use of money, and to get it so that it was passable for folks to walk on. But yeah, I would agree. I would much prefer concrete sidewalk.
Where break comes.
And can I comment on the ARPA piece just a little bit? Please. Yeah. So when the ARPA funds came out, the state had one set of standards that we were working under, and it was, as you talked about, water, sewer, highway, internet, broadband development. And the state still operated that. But what happened, towns were receiving money, so much money, that they didn't know what to do with it. Many towns had, and especially the smaller towns, had no way to spend those funds based on those 4 criteria. So the criteria was opened up to do other stuff. And town now are struggling with what's the other stuff we can do. And I still think, and I think you all are right, Michael, that these questions are developing and being answered as the questions asked. So how you decide to do that will be up to you and the board, how you wish to spend those funds. But many towns got way more money than they ever had before and couldn't figure out a way to spend it. So they opened up the spending pattern for many towns to do other type of work that had been in the hopper for quite a while. Good luck.
Okay, Sheriff's report. Anybody have comments or questions? Okay. Any other business? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Before that, I'd like to thank Judy for taking the town manager's job with her experience and degree. I think it's a good fit. And she'll be able to sign with Michael here for a time. So there should be a smooth transition. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, guys.
The fiscal year's closed, and we didn't have to borrow any money to get through it, so I'll have a more accurate report than that probably at the end of July.
That's a good year.
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, meeting's adjourned.